running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. You come up as a kid doing everything I did, playing with toys and playing cowboys. Then you were told you were getting too old and there's better things in the world, and that's when you discovered girls. That's where it all began. That's when you became a man. Now how did you go from girl so sweet to being a thug in the street? Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Every day you hustle for your pay. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Now growing up in the city make you come up so fast. Before you know, the future is the past. Everything getting old that used to be new. You're doing things you thought you'd never do. And there's something in a movie you saw that made you wanna break the law. You saw big gangsters with famous names, and now you're playing street games. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. 79th. Now the streets can make you cold and the streets can make you old. Your hair was black just the other day. Now it's starting to turn gray. Now back in the day you were so gold-hearted, but these mean streets that make you so cold-hearted. You're putting in work just to build a stack, but it ain't worth what you're getting back. I said, it ain't worth what you're getting back. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Now while you were young, it seemed so sweet, but this lifestyle is a dead-end street. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Hey, hey, hey. Running so wild on these Cleveland streets. Hey, hey, hey. Now what you gonna do when you're old and gray, with no retirement coming your way? No pension or 401k. How will you eat and where will you stay? You know street games has no benefits. The longer you play, the harder it gets. Now 10 to 1 you lose in the street, cause these odds are so hard to beat. I said, these odds are so hard to beat. Yeah, running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Ashland and Cedar. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Now it's only just a matter of time before you're busted for a crime. You need to quit while you ahead, or go to jail or wind up dead. And running these streets ain't the way to go, and what you reap is what you sow. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Uptown, downtown, you get around now, all over the place. It's just a matter of time before you catch your case. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Alright, black folks, listen up and sit back. Now what I'm about to say is gonna bring me some flack. Now I don't need your consent, hers or his, in order for me to tell her like it is. Now black neighborhoods are full of church steeples, and also full of street peoples. You see a church every other block, and in between people trying to sell a rock. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. St. Clair. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Now come on black people, time to wake up. Smell the coffee brewing in your cup. The world in general see us as street slicks, drug dealers, pimps, hoes and tricks, and we not doing anything to change that view. Is it because their perception is true? Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. 79th. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Young and strong, you got muscle in your hustle, but let it be told, don't get old. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Down the way. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. Alright black folks, listen up and sit back. And what I'm about to say is gonna bring me some flack. Now I don't need your consent, hers or his, in order for me to tell it like it is. Now black neighborhoods are full of church steeples and also full of street peoples. You see a church every other block, and in between people trying to sell a rock. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets, Brackland. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets, Buckeye. Now come on black people, time to wake up. You smell that coffee brewing in your cup. The world in general sees that street slicks, drug dealers, pimps, and hoes and tricks. Now we're not doing nothing to change that view. Now is it because the perception is true? Now look it in the eye and don't deny. Don't deny that you're living a lie. I said look it in the eye and don't deny. Don't deny and tell yourself a lie. Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. 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 Running so wild in these Cleveland streets.
Stop running, it's a dead end street.
Running so wild in these Cleveland streets. 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 Running so wild,
Get out the game
running so wild,
while you're still sane.
running so wild in these streets.